Hey everybody, Jeremy here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Joker from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. This is the latest Build-A-Figure wave, at least at this current time, from the DC Multiverse line, and you're going to be building a horse. Instead of another figure, you're going to be riding a horse for Batman. You're going to be building a horse, not riding a horse. You can ride a horse if you want to. But anyway, there are 4 different pieces for this horse, and all the figures that you need to get includes this Joker, and there's also Batman, there's Robin, and there's Superman. So only 4 figures to get, so that's pretty good. All right, so without further ado, let's open this up, take a look at the Build-A-Figure piece and Joker himself. The Dark Knight Returns versions of Superman, Batman, Joker, and especially Robin are amongst the most unique versions of those characters that we have ever seen. And at the same time, they're very recognizable to people who would collect the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line, because those particular characters and the way that they were drawn, they're just so unique. And they're timeless. So I'm really happy that McFarlane decided to go along with this. So as we're looking at this Joker, I mean, right off the bat, this particular Joker is just way out there than what we're used to. Instead of being skinny and scrawny, the guy is tall, he's built. I mean, he's massive. I mean, this could easily just be like a Superman sculpt if you wanted it to be. But it's still a really great looking figure with this all white suit, with the white tie, and you got the trademark purple dress shirt underneath everything. You got the purple shoes as well. And I think that McFarlane did a great job with the face details of this Joker. Just looks really good. And every now and then we get these glimpses of brilliance from McFarlane Toys figures. We see how much detail and how much quality can be squeezed into a single figure, but then we get, you know, off the rails with stuff like side-eye and accessories that just don't look quite good. But in this case, they really did Joker justice here. And of course, his hair looks really great. He's got that big, long chin. He looks just like he does in the comics. Let's move it around on the back. You see that there's nothing going on. It's just pure white, although there's some texture to his suit coat. And you can see it and you can feel it. So here's the interesting thing about this Joker. When you look at him, he seems like he would be more statuesque, especially since he has on this suit coat that, you know, it goes all the way down to his upper thigh. And usually when you have stuff like this, it means that the torso is going to be stiff. You can't really do too much with it. And that's also true in this figure, but it makes up for it with leg articulation. And it's kind of interesting. So I'm going to show you what that is like. But let's look at some of the other articulation. Let's take him off the stand, which is something that all of these figures come with, and just kind of get a closer look at the type of feet that he has. Now, I had him on the stand because him standing up is not difficult, but at the same time, it's a little bit finicky. He's wearing what are basically amounts to heels. So yeah. So, you know, when you have figures that have on heels, it can be kind of difficult to stand them up, except for the Wonder Woman from the Dark Knight's Death Metal line. She had heels, but she could stand up really good. This Joker, you know, you can get him to do the same. He's not as sure-footed as that Wonder Woman is, but I think that you'll do yourself a favor if you do use the included stand, because things can just get a little bit weird with him. So here's how it works. So you can lift his arms up a pretty good way. Just like a lot of these other figures that have the arms separated from the mold on the torso, so that they can have more of a freedom of motion. And then at the elbow, there's a really good bend. It's kind of stiff, but you can do it. I think one of the things that's going to stand out as probably a negative to some people is you can kind of really see, if you can kind of see throughout all the white, but if you can't, you can really notice those joints. Those joints are very noticeable. They stand out like a sore thumb. So they don't blend in very well when you actually have the figure articulated. So it's kind of like the same thing with the wrist here. They're on these ball joints here. So if you move the wrists, that ball really does stand out. So if that's something that bothers you, just be prepared for it. But the arm articulation, when you take away all of the aesthetic things, it's still pretty good. I think it's still pretty good. For the waist and the torso, you're not really going to get much because this is all molded in the suit coat. It's on there good. It doesn't come off. So it really restricts the back and forth that you can do or the side to side that you can do. The head doesn't move up all that much and it doesn't move down all that much. The legs, pretty decent motion. Of course, they get stuck on the bottom of the suit coat there. And then as for the knees, you do have a good bend at the knee. Like I said, it's kind of stiff, but the articulation is totally there. And then you also have this hinge at the toe, and then there's another ball joint right there where the feet are, and then you've got the pivot. It pivots a lot more to the left than it does to the right, but it is there, and it's just it's kind of stiff. You're gonna have to work it out a bit. So as you can see, the articulation is there, but if you wanted him to kind of lean forward and lean back and not rely like on the torso, you can do that just by kind of holding the legs and just bending back like that. And the legs kind of make up for that, except you start to see the gap right there in near the crotch when you want him to bend back as much as that, and then get him to move forward, that much. And then, there's your side to side action, so, it's there. So you can do something with them, if you so desire. But for me personally, I don't want this Joker to be any kind of, crazy pose. I just want him to be more imposing than anything. One thing that I do want to point out that I do like, I like how there's this indentation on his back. So that just kind of, gives a sign of someone who's muscular, they didn't skip back day at all. So I like the fact that that's right there. And as far as the accessories go, you're going to get a hand, which hand is that? This is the right hand, left hand. It's an alternate left hand. So he's got a fisted left hand by default, but if you want him to have two open hands, this is what you can use. And then you also get this this knife. And the thing about this knife is it's very flexible, it's very bendy, but it likes to go back to zero. So even if you bend it kind of like this, you let it go and it just regains its form. I kind of like this for the knife, it being soft, because sometimes when we want to get accessories into figures' hands, like knives and stuff like that, when they're made of that really stiff plastic, if you don't warm it up, you got to kind of try to force it into the hand. And sometimes it might scrape off paint, because it's kind of rough to get in there. But this being kind of bendy and flexible, you don't have to worry about that. So I kind of like that. I think it might work for knives, perhaps not so much with guns, but this is DC, so there are no guns anymore. All right, so there's that. So, what do I think about this Joker? I think this Joker is great. I think that he looks really, really good. I think he falls over, but that's okay. I think that the articulation here is there. To me, it's, somewhat optional because, like I said, I want him to be kind of stoic. But, you do have the ability to get him in a more dynamic pose if you wanted to. So I like the fact that even though he has this suit coat on and everything is kind of just tight, from the shoulders to the waist, the legs help to kind of make up for that a bit, because you can still do, stuff like that with him, using the legs as the weight to get him to do stuff like that, as opposed to just relying on the ab crunch and whatnot. Okay, so that's it for the Joker. But real quick, before we leave, I want to show you the Build-A-Figure pieces. So this is the two pieces that he comes with. You're going to get the head of the horse, which so far this horse looks pretty good. I do have to say, this horse looks pretty good. You got these reins here. They're nice and flexible. And then you also get the saddle. And this is a nice saddle. It's got the Batman symbol right there on the saddle. It's got, oh man, I don't know what you call these. The places where you put your feet if you were riding a horse. And it's good. I like it. It's somewhat flexible. It almost feels like leather. It's not leather, but it's got a feel to it, and I like that. So I'm looking forward to getting the rest of those pieces. But yeah, guys, that is the Joker from The Dark Knight Returns. It is a good figure. He looks like he's super stiff, but he's got a little bit more flexibility to him than he may appear at first. So that's it, you guys. Stay tuned for the next review. It's going to be about Superman from The Dark Knight Returns, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.